And then this just, brings it all into light again, and them allowing her out, just, it's just not right.
Dominick Calhoun would have been 17 years old this year, a senior in high school, deciding what the future would bring. But in 2010, at just 4 years old, he was beaten to death by his mother's boyfriend. 13 years later, not a day goes by that Dominick's family doesn't think about the young man he would have become. Dominick's mother and her boyfriend have spent that time behind bars, but his grandfather and father were robbed of a lifetime of memories with Dominick, and now they're reliving the horrors of his death and the pain of their loss after learning Dominick's mother, the one person police say could have saved him, could soon be free. Pictures of a little boy named Dominick Calhoun, the family's first grandson.
He was my namesake that kept the Calhoun name going.
His smile, his laughter, his memory, frozen in time.
Pictures and things that he made, and, we just have things around the house, up north in the cabin, and we have his fishing pole and his sunglasses.
Memories are all Rick Calhoun has left of his grandson.
We chose to surround ourselves with him.
His family keeps photos of Dominick everywhere. His glowing smile brings them comfort.
He always had a smile. He had that easy life personality.
The other image burned in Rick's memory is much darker. His final moments with Dominick that he will never forget.
I live with the image of him laying on the bedroom floor, and I live with the image of Corrine standing there in the hallway when I came back out.
This is one of the most egregious crimes that's ever occurred in Genesee County.
13 years have passed since a story that touched our community like few others.
I remember the facts of the case like it was yesterday.
Dominick was just 4 years old, loved dancing, his blankie, and his mommy, who investigators say didn't protect him.
In the end, the one he trusted the most let him down, his mother.
Police say his mother, Corrine Baker, was high and worried about getting into trouble for violating probation, so she turned her back while her boyfriend, Brandon Hayes, hit Dominick so many times his tiny body couldn't take it anymore.
And a neighbor heard little Dominick say over and over, "Mommy, make him stop."
But no one saved him. Dominick wet his pants. That's what Brandon Hayes told police made him so mad he started beating the 55-pound little boy.
What we have here is we have a 4-year-old who was beaten to death by a 24-year-old man. Who does that?
Corrine's live-in boyfriend is accused of torturing Dominick for 4 days in a row. And his mother, Corrine, is accused of doing nothing until it was too late.
It's a horrendous crime where a poor little boy was tortured and beaten to death. And this woman enabled that to happen. She enabled Hayes to do this to her boy.
The investigation would reveal Corrine even left the Argentine Township apartment 2 times, but told no one Dominick was in danger. On the 4th day, investigators believe Corrine finally tried to stop Brandon by laying on top of her son as he was being kicked and punched.
Her reactions to protect him came way too late.
Her sister came over with friends to buy marijuana and saw her nephew battered and bruised.
He was covered with blankets, and all I could see was his face, and it was bruised, and I was scared, and I didn't know what to do.
Her sister would call Rick, who rushed over to help.
Went in the bedroom and seen my grandson laying there. I thought, he was beat up, but I honestly, even at that point, I thought he was sleeping. I thought he was resting, but he wasn't. He was dying,
Little Dominick would never dance again. His favorite blankie was found blood splattered, and his grandfather would do what police say his mother failed to do all that time. He contacted authorities, but it was too late for his grandson.
I just know that if that was me, I'd be dead before I would allow my son to die like that. And when I walked in there, she was showering when he was dying on the floor.
Brandon Hayes would confess and was convicted of all counts, including first-degree murder, child abuse, and torture for the beating death of Dominick. He was sentenced to life in prison.
That count alleges that you did cause serious physical and/or serious mental harm.
But he wasn't the only one responsible. Kareen was charged with second-degree murder and child abuse and was also facing up to life in prison for what she didn't do to save her son.
And those horrible choices were paid for with the death of my son.
She agreed to plead guilty and testify against Hayes in exchange for a sentence of 13 to 20 years. A painful deal for Dominick's family, but a chance at some closure.
And once she's done serving that time, she'll be left with a life sentence of guilt.
Kareen tried to get her plea tossed out and attempted to appeal the case throughout her time behind bars, maintaining her innocence from prison, writing a book called I Didn't Kill My Baby.
She has shown no remorse for what happened to her son ever. I've never seen her, write a letter to the family. I mean, just nothing. She's claimed to be a victim the whole time.
But a letter did arrive from the Department of Corrections in December that was devastating to Dominick's family, saying Kareen's first request for parole was granted. She's scheduled to get out this April.
I don't know how 13 years can be enough for letting your 4-year-old son get murdered over days and days.
On January 24th, Dominick's family appealed the parole board's decision, arguing they were never notified because 13 years and several addresses later, the original letter about the parole process arrived too late.
This is really a failure by government in making the burden should be on the parole board to notify families.
Attorney Paul Scott was a state representative for Argentine Township, where Dominick was beaten to death. He helped the Calhoun family create Dominick's Law for tougher punishments for child abusers. Now he's helping them stop Kareen's release after serving just the minimum of her 13 to 20-year sentence.
She's appealed these decisions throughout. She tried to argue she had ineffective assistance at counsel. She doesn't think she did anything wrong. That's not a candidate for someone who's taken account or who has pled guilty to killing their child to get out after 13 years.
In April 2010, inside this apartment, a little boy cried out for help. But no one came. Now, Rick says he will do everything he can to fight for justice for his grandson.
I wouldn't even be able to get the strength to do it if it wasn't for him. He's the one who deserves to have us do everything that we can.
As time passes, so do missed milestones.
He'd have been 17 years old, going to high school and girlfriends and
heartbreaking reminders of what Dominick could have done, who he could have been, if only his mother had protected him.
We've got few videos and we've got pictures and the smile on his face and the glow on his face and just wide open, big, huge smile. And it makes me feel happy, that he got to enjoy and we got to enjoy him as long as we did.
And the family recognizes that grief will still be there no matter when she gets out. The appeal is now in the hands of a Genesee County judge. The family's hoping the decision will be reversed or sent back just to give them a chance to address the parole board. Right now, Kareen is scheduled to get out on April 22nd after serving the minimum of her 13 to 20-year sentence.
So sad, to look at those pictures and to think about he would have been in his late teens right about now, and I'm sure this has changed that family forever. How is Dominick's father doing?
It really has changed the family, and they'll never be the same. But his father, Eric, says this case, he struggles, and it's still too hard for him to talk to us about it. But he and the whole Calhoun family are helping with the appeal. Eric also started his own painting business, and he named it Pinwheel Painting and donates 5% of his profits to Hurley Medical Center in memory of Dominick. And as you know, the pinwheel is a symbol for child abuse prevention.
You've certainly been through so much.